Okay, that's working. That's working, and we are good to go. Okay. That works, that works. That works. Good morning. What's up, everybody? Alright. Okie dokie. This is what we're doing today. Today. We are going to work on... Actually, let me post this real quick. Where'd it go? There. Cool. Today we are going to be working on tertiary details for the arm and back. This is what we're going to accomplish today. I'm going to show you how I did all this. Nice, juicy, awesome, amazing details. Them details! Man, those toes need still a lot of work. Holy, lots of work still. Alright, okay, that was good. That's good. Me Barry, what's up? Okay, let's make sure that... Testing. Okay. That one worked. Alright, just make sure everything's finalizing and setting up here real quick. Testing and testing. Okay, cool. Sweet. Sweet. Alright. Here's... So this is the juicy details we'll go over today. How did you do that, they say? Magic. Magic. Alright, that's... Cool. Alright. So it's actually fairly straightforward. I like to try to keep my detailing processes down to a couple of steps. So if you guys have followed my previous project, the Horizon Zero Dawn fan art, I did some similar stuff for the leather on that guy's, like as his tunic. So it's pretty much similar to that, but this is actually going to be on a full character. So there's some differences. So I started working on the hand a little bit as well. So today I'll show you how to do that and that on the back, and then we'll go to the chest. Hopefully we'll be able to get the torso done today. What's up, Omar? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Michael Dunham, what's up, buddy? How are you, sir? Look what I just started using, by the way. If you guys don't know Michael, he does this awesome XMD toolbox setup, which is fantastic. Highly recommend it to anybody who's using ZBrush. Really great tool. Awesome job, Mike. You do awesome stuff. Shout out. All right. So let's actually just get into it here. So to give you a little bit of details. Yeah, man, it's awesome, dude. It's awesome. Really helpful. Any way I can speed up my workflow, I'm for. So, all right. So let's add a new layer. And then when I'm using alphas, I usually just use my standard brush because I don't like messing up any of my other main brushes. So you just use drag select, and then I'm using this alpha. I don't remember where I got it, but it's just a leather alpha. I don't know if I got it from Bad King or textures.com or something like that. Forgot where I got it, but any decent leather alpha should work fine. What I like to have in my alpha is some directionality, so you see like some rotation or some angularity to the details there. It becomes really helpful. What's up, Quasek? How you doing, man? Alright, so first step is to get down just some base layers. And I like doing it kind of in the way that the muscles move. Alright, so maybe we'll get some going this way. And what happens is when you start combining these together, you start getting these really nice happy accidents happening where you get kind of this overlap. Right, so even though it's the same alpha used again and again, you can just rotate it a little bit and you got some of this nice cross hatching happening. And I'll start using some of that directionality to help enhance the movement and the flow of some of this skin. So when you're using alphas like this, you'll notice that at some points you'll see the alpha like pop. So right here it's nice and blurry, and then at a certain point it pops into focus. Not sure why or when that happens, but it does. So I try to use it to my benefit. So if I want just minor kind of blurry details, I'll drop it before that pop happens. But if I want something crisp, I'll make sure to use something after that pop happens. So this stuff I just may want just some of that minor blurry detail. I want this to angle down. So usually on the first round of this, I'll go fairly heavy, because then afterwards I'll go and morph out the places that I don't want it. So you see some of this stuff like adds to that nice secondary details as well. Maybe we'll start getting this coming back down this way. What's up, Novaborn? How you doing, man? So I'm gonna leave this one just on the blurry side. I don't want it to dig in too much on these big open areas. And if I change my mind later, I can always go in with my damn standard and kind of get those up to speed, or push them in a little more. And then then through here I may get kind of more of this. So what I want to be careful of is I want it to accentuate the forms that are already down and not obliterate them, right? What's up, Edgar? Just getting into work, found the perfect stream. Where is it? So yeah, so you don't want to obliterate your nice secondary forms underneath. So you want to be careful not to go crazy with them. You're not telling me who you're not telling me who you're watching then. That's funny. I found the perfect stream. I'm not telling. All right, so I'll just go in and kind of get all of just the base layers down, with some of the kind of crispiness and directionality that I want to get. What's up, Thickness? How you doing, man? $800 is the best $800 that you ever spend for ZBrush. Maybe what I want to do is I want to start getting a little bit of this cross hatching happening. So I may want to just get a little bit of that. So like kind of this high traffic area, we'll get some of these really nice little pops happening in here. Pops? Pops? What's up, Pops? Son? Not that kind of pops. See, in this particular case, I want to keep this one on the blurry side of that pop. So we start, even from there, it's already starting to tell a story, right? These ones may want to be a little bit more crisp through the medial head of the deltoid. And then these ones I may want to just be a little bit on the blurry side here, just to get some texture down. So you'll see this is what I've done through the arm here in these areas. And then I'll show. So I did it through the hand as well, but then I did the next couple of steps through there. Let me change my light back to default here. There we go. Alright, so we'll just continue laying down this base layer here. Yeah, you can, you know, if you're not ready to jump into ZBrush with both feet, ZBrush Core is a good alternative. Great alternative, actually. And these ones I want to be a little bit deeper through here. And you see how I did some of this exploratory work before? I could just really quickly and easily go in those same directions to help enhance those areas. Like maybe like that. Be nice. Maybe like that. Like this. This is actually a God of War troll fan art piece. If you look right there, this is actually going to be, this particular project, it's for statue and collectible pipeline. So that's why he's all posed out and everything at this point. And it's a great asymmetrical anatomy study piece as well. Nothing like posing and sculpting anatomy in asymmetry. That's some good practice. I don't care who you are. That's good practice. No, I don't. I think the question is, does it matter if I suck at drawing? No, I think that it's the knowledge is the key. So if you know your anatomy, and you can sculpt it, awesome. You don't have to be able to draw awesomely. I tend to tell people that if you're bouncing between whether you should spend time drawing versus spending time sculpting, it really depends on what you want to do. If you want to be a 3D artist, then I would say try to spend the majority of your time sculpting. But you don't always have time at your computer. You don't always have the luxury of being around your 3D software to be able to do it, and that's where drawing comes in handy. Right? It's really quick, easy, and cheap to be able to study just by drawing muscles and drawing forms and drawing lines. It's easier, quicker, and cheaper to do that when you're not able to get to your computer to actually digital sculpt. You know what I mean, man? You feeling me? Okay. So we get here. I just want to get a little bit of that blurry, minor texture happening. And again, I can morph out some of the areas that I don't want. And I really want to make sure I keep this nice. You guys are going crazy right now in the chat. Yeah, so the brush that I'm using right now is just a simple leather alpha. You can find leather alphas pretty much anywhere. So what I would do is I would just find one that feels good, that has some kind of directionality to it, some turn. That's basically what I'm doing here. Okay, we get some of this, some of this, we get some of this. Alright, so what happens is you get some of these really nice happy accidents happening where you got things crossing over, you got things working together. I think I like that one. Right, and you just start getting the overall vibe of what that skin texture is looking like. Maybe we'll do this downwards like this. Then this will come, this kind of has this flow this way. Oh, thanks, Chimera. Chimerian? Chimerian? I suck at screen names. You have to excuse me. So again, you want to make sure that you're not completely decimating the underlying forms, that these forms are accentuating the positive and eliminating the negative. Childhood memories, anybody? Who has that song stuck in their head right now? You're welcome. What's up, Nightmare? How you doing? So there's usually a lot of squash and stretch through the elbow area. So I want to make sure that I got some good pieces kind of on the underside and the above side. Raj! What's up, dude? Long time. Right, and we got this really cool cross pattern starting to happen through here, too. So this is all just setting it up for the next phase here. I want to get some really nice thick lines under the elbow here. Yeah, sure. We can take a peek at the whole thing here. So this is the whole beat at the moment. We'll take a quick peruse around. His giant crayon. Last stream we did a couple of heads, blocked them out real quick. But this is where we're going to get to today. So you can already start to see kind of the thought formulating in my head and how we get to this, right? How we get to this type of stuff. It's actually only a couple quick steps to get to this. What's up, Hip Hop? How you doing, man? You went crazy buying games today? Uh-oh. Let me guess. Fallout 76, Red Dead Redemption 2, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. What's up, Christo? How you doing, man? So this is again, if you just rolling in, this is my God of War fan art. Troll guy, man, dude. Yeah, love these guys in the game. So I figured, you know what? I want to start working on my collectibles pipeline. What better way? What better way, you say? Tomb Raider games. Nice, dude. Yes. I just started, well, for a while, I do work for Crystal Dynamics, so I got a special place in my heart for Lara. Alright. Let's keep rolling here. Just want to fill in some of this. Alright. So we got some directionality happening, which is cool. See if there we go. That one's cool. Just try to get a little bit more variation through here. Okay. And then we'll head up into here real quick as well. We got lots of time today, so we're gonna do as much as possible. As for the height of this guy, I'd like to see him probably around 18 to 20 inches. So that's why I'm doing lots of extra details, so that we can get some of that in the actual sculpt. Save it. That, and it's actually fun practice. You know, and if if this detail doesn't get into the actual print, it still looks good in portfolio. So I don't want to, you know, it is for my personal work. So I'm going to use it as many ways as possible. So ultimately it's for collectible and statue pipeline for print. But let's say I never actually get to print it. Well, I don't want to just leave it for nothing, right? I actually still want to be able to use it for portfolio. So I want to make sure that I have the details that I want it to represent my skill level, right? Nice. I do use reference, yes. Typically I use like a elephant or rhino or some kind of heavy leather, you know, warthog or that kind of reference is good. I also don't want to go too heavy with my reference because I don't want it to look like a specific style of skin. I want it to be something a little bit different. So I've done this enough times so I know what kind of skin I'm going for. What kind of personality I want it to have. So I try not to I use it early on. I use a lot of reference early on when I start doing this type of skin, but I've done it enough where I know how to get to where I want to be. So I actually tend to try not to use specific types of skin as reference because I want it to be different. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Okay, I think we're ready to move next stage. Actually, let's finish the deltoid first. So again, I'm taking cues from the exploratory stuff I did underneath here. So I'm going to go some this way and some this way. Get some nice cross-hatching happening. What's up, John? How you doing? Apes? No, not apes for this particular one. All right, here's what we'll do then. So we'll do next stage for this area here, and it'll give you an idea of where my mind is now while I'm putting down the next layer. So we'll bring all of this to fruition, and then we'll go back and do this side and show you kind of what I was thinking while I'm laying down the base. And that way you can kind of get a peek into the thought process. Alright, so once I have this nice kind of base layer down, I'll go in with my dam standard, and I'll start pulling out particular areas and adding to particular areas that I didn't quite get in the layout. So some of the more high traffic areas I may want to go in and enhance some of the depth. Take some areas and make them deeper. So usually do a pass to kind of either even things out or break things up or add more detail to areas that didn't quite get the details that I wanted exactly. So this is a good stage to kind of emphasize or take out areas. So what I think what I want to do in general is emphasize some of the areas in between some of the secondary structures. Make it look like there's more squashing happening. Yeah, you kind of want to, you take your reference, you learn from the reference, and then you expand on the reference that you know, right? To make something different. Alright, so through here, I kind of want to get a little bit more of this happening. So I usually wait to do this process until after I lay down the first layer of alphas, because what it does is it kind of establishes the style of the skin, right? And how it kind of folds and how it moves together. And then we just accentuate certain spots. All right, so down here we have a lot of extra gravity happening, a lot of squash and zucchini. So we may want to just add some more depth to these pieces. So I want to be able to pull these pieces out so we see the skin actually like being pushed out. Alright. Yep. This nice stuff happening through here. And I may want to make sure that I vary up my brush size for some of the more minor spots. No, my back does not look like this. This is not a self-portrait. Kind of like this happening here. This skin is going over from one form to the other. It's pretty cool. So you just start accentuating whatever those happy accidents were happening, you know? It's important to get the variation. It's really hard to get that with just dropping alphas down. What? Not that one. Okay, step back. So I want the frequency to end up being in some of these recesses to help accentuate some of those secondary forms, right? Yeah, we'll probably get some more down here. Right, so you're starting to see a lot of this type of stuff already starting to come to fruition. This is just damn standard 1. One of these days I was using damn standard 2 for a while, but when I upgraded to 2018, I think, I just haven't had a chance to put it back in my toolbox. And you can use your focal shift as well too to change the fall off, or just your brush size is fine, either one. Okay, really want to get a lot more depth within this area because we'll get a lot of that that fold stuff happening through here. And you can always go back and forth, you don't have to finish one process before you get to the next. But I kind of know where it's trying to go, so Yeah, a little bit like elephant skin. The thing with elephant skin is it has this very like very straight crosshatch stuff happening, where you get kind of like this. It's actually fairly consistent, kind of across the board. Elephant skin does. So I'm trying to do something like that, but not quite, right? You start getting a little bit more of like these diamond shapes throughout and less square shapes. How do you know all that? It's called studying. Study, study, study. Honestly, I think artists should never be bored. I was thinking about it the other day is there's so much knowledge out there to learn. You know, you're like, well, I don't have my sketch pad, or I don't have my my Wacom with me, so I can't sculpt. So I don't need to study. That's BS. You can always study. Study with your eyeballs. When you're looking at somebody, or you're looking at something, figure out what makes that thing that thing. Why does that skin look cool? What directions do the major skin folds happen in? You know, if you got a project coming up, and you know that something's going to be a challenge, then find that stuff in the real world. You know, if you're gonna do a highly realistic face, start looking at people's faces. Just be like, oh, your eyeball does that thing. Oh, that's cool. You know, like, oh, your nose has got the little indent. Oh, okay, cool. And then like the bilateral cartilage does that thing, and that's what makes the nose shape. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, your zygomatic is really puffy. Oh, okay, cool. And then you know, you can always study. You can always study. Just use your eyeballs, man. Use your eyeballs. I've been doing a lot of hair work at work lately, so even though I'm not at work working on hair, I'm actually, you know, I'm sitting chatting with my wife, or I'm chatting with my daughter. You know, I'm looking at the hair and like how it actually like goes, and what the clumps do, and like what the fly offs do, and like how would I create those shapes, you know? You can always study. I started taking classes not long ago. Awesome. That's great to hear, Kristen. Oh, at Noman. Nice. Quality. Let's say you're an environment artist. Environment artists should never ever be bored. Everywhere you go is an environment. Everywhere you go is lit differently. You know? You need some more alphas down here. So I'll kind of just work on this area and kind of fade off down here for now. Do you need to study anatomy for sculpting? Depends on what you're sculpting. If you're sculpting anatomy, yes, absolutely. I think you should study. You should always be studying anatomy if you're doing character work. I think you should always be studying anatomy. Even the masters at anatomy still study. And when you I've been studying human anatomy for a long time. And I still try to study as much as possible, even though I know the muscles, and I know what they're connected to, and I know the bones that they're connected to, and how to spell their names, and all, you know, all of that. I still study. You never know enough. And the other thing too is that the more information that you try to cram in your brain over time, you start forgetting some of that stuff. So you got to go back and refresh. You know what I mean? As a new artist, it's daunting. It's very daunting. I think the best thing that you could do as a relatively new artist, just take it a piece at a time. You know, especially for anatomy, if you just stick with a particular body part, you know, do the arm first. Do the arm from the wrist to the shoulder joint. You know, work on that for a couple of weeks, and they get super sick at arms. And then move on to what that's connected to. You know, move on to the front of the torso. Okay, well, how does the pectoral move into the shoulder? How does the serratus work with the shoulder? How does the lat work with the shoulder? You know, how does the traps work? Teres minor, teres major, rhomboid, infraspinatus, sacrospinalis, all that shit stuff. Start small. Get good at one particular body part, and then move on. How big am I planning on printing this? Probably 18 to 20 inches, something like that. All right, so when I'm getting to this point where I'm feeling I got some areas closer to what I'm feeling, I always want to make sure that I'm zooming out and that those detail areas are in the places that I wanted and they're spread out enough, right? So what I'm seeing is more deeper frequency through here, right? Lighter frequency, deeper, deeper, deeper. But this area feels like it needs a little bit more breakup. It's just kind of like medium frequency all the way through here. So we got deeper, 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 medium, deeper, a little bit. So I want to accentuate some of this moving across a little bit more. And then probably a little bit more through here. So let's do that. Again, I'm just using those alphas that I put down as a guide. We got this nice kind of crossing action moving through here. Just vary up some of the depths as well. And I like this idea that you got some of the skin folds like actually crossing from this major form to this major form, kind of across like this. We get some really nice integration forms happening. And this type of super high frequency detail takes a while. It takes a while to kind of get in there. So this is always good for kind of like later in the day work. I feel it's kind of less designy and more rendering. So I try to typically try to keep different types of work for different parts of my day, right? Like in the mornings when I get into work or when I first start, I tend to have the best that's the best time for me creatively. So I try to keep my creative decisions happening when I have the most potential for creating good creativity, right? So think about that, you know, when you're getting into work and like, you know, how does your day go? In the mornings, well, I've got more brain power in the mornings. Cool. We'll keep that time for high decision or highly creative decision making. You know, am I designing things? You know, what are those highly creative decisions that you have to make? then later, as you kind of go through your day, you tend to kind of get a little bit burnt. You know, you're like, using too much brain power. This stuff, what I'm doing now, there's not a whole lot of brain power in it, for me especially, or in this particular case. So I usually try to keep this type of work for kind of the end of my day, because it's nice to just zone out and just make shapes, make cool stuff. And it's always nice to be able to leave your work day with something that looks awesome, right? Then you get excited about it. You start thinking about it. You're like, oh, I could do this and I could do that when I get in tomorrow. Not tonight. I'm tired and I'm hungry. So plan out for those times. Plan out. Know how you work. You know. Do you do your better creative thinking at night, like late night? Then do it then. What's up, Jang? Surja, what's up? Yeah, so you can go back tomorrow and realize you hyped it up too much and you need to fix everything. Yeah, exactly. All right, I think we're at a good place now, at least on his back, that we can go and start the next phase, which is pulling. So now what we want to do, like if you look at this surface, it's all like the overall surface is still very similar. So what I want to do is I want to get in here and start adding this pop out, right? So it's where the skin, where it comes like this, and the surface actually pushes outward, and you get nice rounded actions to some of those areas. This is, see, now you see how we're getting close to that. So for that, I just use Inflate. Super duper easy. And then now, in those same high traffic areas where there's a lot of that happening, you just go in with your Inflate brush. You just start pulling some of this stuff out. Right? This is where the fun is, right here. It just starts breathing life into the surface. Really quickly. Look at that. Starts to look less like a noisy surface and more like actual skin. So you gotta think about like how the skin reacts to itself with different pressures in different areas, right? So in these high traffic areas, you're gonna have more deep crevices, and the surface, the overall surface, is gonna get pushed out because the skin's got to go somewhere. Alright? Look at that. It's alive! As for the other side, somebody asking about how I'm gonna do the other side. I'm not gonna mirror it because it's already asymmetrical. And secondly, really, like for this type of detail, you really want to spend a little bit of extra time making sure it's asymmetrical. Look at that. I love this part. I could just do this shit all day. What's up, Over? How you doing, man? How essential is it to understand composition of design to create details on a prop? I think design is probably the most important of a lot of a lot of the art skills you use for anything that you do, not just anatomy, not just illustration, but knowing good design. What makes good design? Those core art um, ideas are important for almost everything that you do. You know, small, medium, large shapes, pattern, repetition, offset. You know how you're leading your eye in different directions. All that stuff is important for even for this stuff. You know, like, well, how are these lines informing the shapes underneath, and how is it moving my eye? Right? You notice how all of these lines are kind of going in this direction. So I think it's really, really important to keep design aspects in your mind at all times whenever you're doing any kind of art. All right, now we're going to have a lot of pressure right down in here. So I want to take these and really pop them out. Said, man, were you always that patient? It does take uh, quite a bit of patience to do kind of high frequency detail stuff. But the payoff is amazing, though. Like, when you're able to get results that 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 look awesome, it was totally worth it. You know, and knowing kind of the when you're blocking out your piece, you know, all the time that I've spent on this dude getting to this part was all in preparation for this part. You know, I knew I was going to get to this type of detail on here, so it was all about making sure that when I did get here, it looks the best it can. You know what I mean? Now we're starting to get some of that. Look at that. We get these nice, really nice hits down here. The light coming down. Yeah, Mr. Freud said, composition is king. Learn the tools is the least important. Yeah, the tools just helps you create. Helps you. It's just the tool, you know. It's your knowledge is the key. And again, I want to make sure that I don't get the telescope action happening where I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna get in here and do this. I always want to make sure that even at this part, you know, we're making sure that the amount of detail is spread out and still looks good. It's not in one little location. That it accentuates the full idea of what you're working on and not just one little area. Okay, so now we start getting in to this area up here. You actually see I'm using some gravity in here. Basically what that's doing is just giving this curvature a little bit more weight on the bottom instead of just a standard curve. So it's giving just a touch more weight on the bottom, and actually that is brush depth, brush depth, gravity direction. So if you go into your brush, you go into depth, there's your gravity right there. Alright, now we start going in through here. So I was talking about earlier where we got some of these, actually I was talking about this one up here. We got some of these shapes going in between a major shape and another major shape. What's cool is when you get these kind of popping, it helps that nice integration in between the two. There's all kinds of things that you can do at this stage too. You could go in and do like a mask by cavity, and then it will mask all of this stuff underneath. And then you can just sculpt on top of it and not affect those valleys. That's another thing you can do. Okay, get a little bit more through here. So again, it's really important, at least to me, to keep the process at which you arrive to these particular details in as few steps as possible. I don't want to make it too complicated because then it's tough for me to remember how I got there. So when I come back the next day, or next week, when over the weekend or something, come back and start working on it again, you have less steps to remember how you did something. Hannibal, what's up, buddy? For personal projects, how would you know that the deadline is too much? Like, could you keep editing a piece forever or rush it? Yeah, you could definitely keep editing it forever for a personal piece. I think there's a couple of large milestones to take into account for a personal piece. The first one is what you learn from a project. Before you start a project, you don't know what the hell it takes to make that project, right? So as you move through the different phases of the project, you start learning what it takes to make that thing, right? So by the time you're done with the project that you're working on, you have more knowledge about those issues than when you started. So there's a level of knowledge that you gain from each project, right? So is it a learning project that you're working on? Are you trying to learn a software? Are you just trying to learn anatomy? Are you just trying to get down a certain technique? Is the project that you're working on going to be a portfolio piece, or is it just practice? I think most personal projects fall into those two categories. Is it a portfolio piece, or is it knowledge practice? If it's knowledge, well, and it can be both, but if it's not a portfolio piece, then I would say you end that piece after you feel like you've learned as much as you can from it. Right? So if I was just figuring out how to do different skin details like this, at this point, I feel like I got it. Okay, I got it. But this is a portfolio piece for me, so I got to finish it. So it's important to know what the kind of project that you're working on, right? All right, let's take a look. You're gonna see some of this really nice. So you get high frequency, lots of buckle happening, not much buckle happening, right? It's because more high frequency in here, less high frequency, and then more frequency. So I want to make sure that the depth of what I'm doing for that skin detail represents that. Right, so we're seeing it here. So it's just adding, what it's doing is adding to those base forms and not taking away from them. It's always really important. So I shouldn't use my learning pieces in my portfolio? No. You should, what you should put in your portfolio is, well, that's actually two things. I don't think you can ever do a piece where you don't learn something. Every piece is different and represents its own challenges, so you're going to learn something. So a portfolio piece, you'll still learn a lot of stuff. But it's just important to differentiate your project between, am I doing this just to learn something? You know, am I learning Blender with this? Am I learning, you know, HD geometry in ZBrush with this one? You know, is it just an arm? Does it look like practice, or is it you know, a complete piece? If it's a piece that you feel happy with, that you feel represents your current skill set, and it doesn't look like homework, or it doesn't look like just a practice session, then maybe think about putting it in your portfolio. But it's important to differentiate those two for yourself, right? So now I can come back after I do some of this pulling out and re-accentuate some of the valleys through here. Maybe do some new crossing. And some more integration. Yeah, that's starting to feel pretty good. Now let's go and do this area. So yeah, I mean, it's really tough to say what you should and shouldn't put into your portfolio. Basically, your portfolio should show current skills, but also it shouldn't be detrimental to your current skills, you know? Like, if I have just a bunch of unfinished projects in there, then it looks like I can't finish things, right? Like in my portfolio right now, I have a couple of pieces that are unfinished, but I feel like they represent a level up in my skills. So I made the decision to put them in because I feel like even at the state that they're in, they're better than my previous work. You know, that's kind of an executive decision to make, and it could have an undesired effect as well. Oh well, you know, he's got gray box sculpts in his game art portfolio, but I have other pieces in there that are finished. Granted, those are from a while ago. So I feel like the benefit in showing some of my sculpting level level up is better than the detriment of not having finished work. So you kind of gotta make that judgment call for yourself, you know. It's hard to put a grand swath to it and say, oh, you should do this. Now, what's gonna be really cool about this is, you know, think about your setting and your lighting. So, if this is sitting on a desk or sitting on a presentation pedestal or something, more often than not, it's going to be lit from the top, right? So like 99% lighting will be from the top, which means that most of my highlights are going to be up top, and then most of my shadows are going to be underneath. And then in between that is where you have all of your really, really nice sculptural details, right? So your sculpted details are tough to see on the highlight and tough to see in the shadow. And it's the transition from your lightest light to your darkest dark is where you see the most amount of frequency detail. So really want to make sure that in my most common lighting scenarios, I have the right amount of frequency detail in the area where that light fall off is going to happen, right? Just think creatively. So I know that the underside of the arm and, you know, in the armpit is going to be probably my darkest darks. So from midway down, this is where a lot of my detail is going to be seen, right? Right through here. This will get most of the light, and what's going to happen is that your dark crevices are going to get washed out, and you're not really going to see a whole lot of stuff up here. Where you're going to see it is when you have this mid-range of light. And that's where I want to make sure that I have like this really nice stuff happening down here, because it fools the eye into seeing, oh, well, if it's got that much detail, then all the rest of it must have some just crazy amount of detail, right? So if you go in and you put all this crazy detail in here, but 99% of your lighting setup is going to wash that out, then that sucks. What's up, pal? How you doing, man? So you got to think about all those scenarios, right? So in this particular case, I want to make sure that I did freaking nail all of this through here. All of this through here. Oh, this isn't painstaking work. This is the fun work. This is the work that I live for. This is the work that gets me out of bed. And excited about projects that I'm working on. This is the work that gets me to the ZBrush Summit. This is the work to get me up at 6 o'clock in the morning. 5 o'clock in the morning, sorry. To stream for y'all before I go to work for 10 hours. This is the type of work that I think about when I'm not working. You gotta find that work, you know? Find what you think about all the time. Find the work that when you look at it, you're like, damn, that's freaking sick. I want to do that. And then do that work. That's the tangible response that you should have to the work that you want to do. Yeah, usually it's about 10 hours. Between 8 and 10. Alright, get some nice fold action happening through here. You like that with anatomy? Me too, man. I'm like that with tertiary details. I'm just like, oh, it's freaking sick. I want to do that. And then when I do it, I'm gonna look back and I was like, damn, that was sick. And then I'm gonna do it again on something else. Art's about passion, man. You know? Look at that. Oh, it's so good. I love it. I love it. Yeah, Powell says, left side is baby stage. This side is old man troll stage. Exactly. It's crucial to find a job at the... I can't read that. It's crucial to find a job that the process gives the most joy, not the result of that work. You can like paintings, but hate to paint. That's true. That's very true. You gotta find something that you're... There's so much kind of negative response about, you know, find something that you're passionate about. I don't know, man. I think it's important to be passionate about the things that you do. Alright, this is all gonna be like kind of crazy little details in here. Just gonna let the inflate brush kind of do its work for me and just pop some of those details out. I think it's important to be passionate about what you do. To a point, you know. If you're overly passionate, then you can be annoying. No, I think it's important. If you're doing the type of work that you actually like doing, you know, passion is great to have. You can't be completely passionate as an artist. Okay, so we got this nice kind of flow moving this way. So I want to kind of break some of that flow to move this way, because right now this is a little bit weird in here. So I want to make sure that some of this stuff is actually going to bring the eye this way a little bit. So maybe we'll bring some of these pieces through this way to help with this transition. So it's kind of going this way and this way. It's kind of like a fork in the river. It's a fork in the attention river. When you see a fork in the river, take it. And I probably would have a little bit more around the inner elbow. So probably can have some of this. So now we'll take a look here. And even just this one little spot here is helping redirect. But maybe what I want to do is cut that back this way cut that back this way. So we get this, get that kind of thing happening in there. Yeah, there we go. What's up, Alex? Thanks, dude. Appreciate it, man. It becomes easier to give back when you're passionate. Love the shit that you do. All right, we haven't zoomed out in a little while. Anybody that's new here, this is what we're working on. So now you can see how we got to that. So it's basically 3 major steps, right? Start with just a base alpha, right? Kind of like this stuff. And then we use dam standard to add a little bit more depth in certain areas. And then we use inflate to pull out some of the more buckled areas. So by using just a couple of methods, you can get consistent results, I find. And your stick-to-itiveness is apparent. Yeah, stick-to-itiveness. That's my big word of the day. Big word of the day, and it's only 7 o'clock. Holy cow, it's 7 o'clock already. Okay. We'll start getting into a little bit of this. Wait. Let's concentrate here. We're working on this area. Am I done with this area? I think for the most part, this area looks pretty good. I think maybe we can get a couple more fading down this way. Nope. Those don't look good. Nope. Learn when to say no. Alright, we'll get into some of this in here. Say nope to dope. So again, we have a little bit of this kind of like stopping, where this flow and this flow kind of stop. So what I want to do is I want to get a couple of these lines moving through those shapes, so we can get a little bit of this kind of rounding action happening. And then we can fade that out through there. There we go. Then we'll hit some inflate through here. All right, because I really want to show the feeling that when you extend the arm, all of this gets squashed right in here. Because it has to have enough skin there to cover it when you bend your arm. All right, so we tend to get a lot of skin buckling beneath the elbow when you extend your arm. And again, this is studies that you can do when you're just out and about. Let's say you're standing in line at Starbucks. You know, you take a look at the dude in front of you, and he's got his arms down like this. Look at the back of his elbow. See what it looks like. You're like, oh, that's cool, man. Like, look at this doing that. You know, the dude's ripped, but man, he's got like wrinkles under his arm, like under the ulna. That's crazy. Study everywhere. Use those eyeballs in your head. Use these eyeballs. I think one of the things that I'm missing right here is usually when you have your arm out like this, you tend to get a divide between the mass of the bone and like the mass of your contractors that are down here. So a lot of times you have like this divot line running all the way from your elbow to your wrist. So let's do that real quick. Why is there a mask on? I don't want a mask. What are you doing, bro? Should probably save. Let's save. Okay. It has saved. Alright, so what I'm going to do is let's go to layers. Alright, let's turn all these off for a second. Let's name this one Skin Deets. And then let's add a new one here. I'm going to call this Divot. Divot? Divot. I don't know how to spell. Whatever. I'm going to go down to subdivision level 2, and then I'm just going to do an inflate. And we're just going to do a slight divot in there. Maybe not quite that harsh. I think maybe a little bit bigger. My smooth is way too high. So just smooth this out. Smooth this out. And then we're going to see how that looks. Okay, now we go back up. We turn all these back on. Now look at that. What's really cool is you can turn that on and off. That actually feels better. Or you can say, well, it's not, maybe not quite that much. So we'll just turn this down a little bit. Boom. Boom. Done. How many hours of work for this piece so far? Shit, I don't know. Probably about a week and a half's worth of full-time work at this point. I could probably get here in about a week's worth of work. Alright, so I actually like where it's heading now, so I'm just going to I'm going to combine all these real quick. Let's just merge all these down. Alright, before, after. Before, after. Yeah, feels good, man. Let's just start a new one here. Alright, so let's continue. What's up to Chillcheck? How you doing, man? Let's start getting this fall off through here. Thanks, man. Hey, that was right. Chillcheck, right? I suck at Twitch names. Know your weaknesses. That's fine. Alright, let's move to the front here. I feel like we haven't really done much up here. Alright, so now that we know how we got to that stuff, let's fill in the rest here. What's up, fam? How you doing? Alright, so now we go back to our standard. So now that we know and knowing's half the battle. Right, this is the stuff that we're looking for and how we got there. Now you can start seeing the process at which what I'm thinking when I'm laying in some of this detail, right? So you get some of these really cool pieces happening here. And maybe we'll do it the other way as well. So it's not all just flowing in one exact direction. You could pull it the other way too to help give some offset. Right, there's nice things happening. Look at that, and that one, and that. So you start seeing these happy accidents happen, and then you start knowing what you're able to do with them in the next couple of steps. Alright, already that stuff is starting to happen through here. See all that? Nice. Yeah, nice. Yeah, absolutely. What's up, Clem? How you doing? How do you charge for your work? By days or by jobs? Typically what I do is I have a base rate, like a base hourly rate at which I value my work. And then if it's a day's worth of work, then I just do, you know, how many hours do I want to put in that day? How many hours can I think I could put in that day? And then that's your day rate. That's typically how I work. Some people do it a little bit differently, but right now I wanna make sure that these are gonna go in the direction of the peck. I mean, you can do it however you want to, but that's how I'm gonna do it. Fayez asks, what does someone do when you know you're doing something wrong and you can't quite find where it is? What would you do in such situations? That's when you reach out and call a friend. It's important to have people that you can bounce ideas off of and get reviews. You know, it's really important to be able to have people that can give you an extra eye. Because there's a lot of times when you don't see things. It happens a lot. Even happens professionally all the time, every day. So what I would do is I would take that work and I would post it and say, hey, fellow artist friends, there's something wrong and I can't nail it. Yeah, we're not doing nipples on Twitch. Twitch doesn't like nipples. No nips on Twitch. They have nipple police. I'm not trying to get the Pixelogic stream banned. So I'll do all that stuff off stream when I'm closer to being done. They really do have nipple police. It's pretty crazy. Alright, so we start to see that stuff happening here. Let's make sure that we see how it looks on the reel. Nope, no nipples at all. I think it was born out of the whole, they didn't want female nipples. So then they decided, well, we can't just say no female nipples, so we'll just do no nipples at all. Put little post-it notes up here. I may actually do that. I may just model some post-it notes with a little piece of tape, and then put those on there. Free the nips. Nips have feelings too. Nips have rights. Rip nips. Alright. So yeah, we'll continue with the chest up here. Getting carried away with the back over there. Alright, so even just now, like knowing how we did all of this, you can start to see where those potential places are when you start throwing in just this, even just this base layer. Like, oh, all this in here? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh no, Mr. Kool-Aid Man. Better put that wall back together before my dad gets home and kicks my ass. Oh yeah. Oh no. Yeah, this guy's got mad dry skin. Mad dry skin. And I would take the time. I wouldn't just go, you know, like this for the skin. Take some time to kind of get them placed in the right areas. And heading in the right directions and having nice little accidents happening. You know, like, you know, he crunches over probably quite a lot, so there's a lot of like horizontal folds happening, right? Maybe larger at the front of the stomach. You know, and as these come in through here, they may be more kind of cross-hatched, as he may be twisting in different directions. Maybe do a little bit more cross-hatch down here. We need some troll moisturizer. Stat! Alright, I actually want to make sure that I accentuate some of those underlying forms. When you're working on a subdiv and your topology gets uneven, what do? You really want to make sure that you're not going to run into that at all wherever you're at. So take care to get a good base layer that has relatively even topology throughout. That's my best bit of advice. I mean, this one still has some uneven topology, but you know, we're sitting at 2 million. It's fine. You're not really going to run into issues. You'll run into some, but not a crazy amount. Okay. Let's do, you know, and then maybe this area through here we'll just do super light stuff. So maybe I'll drop it before we get that definition pop. So we just have some light stuff through here. When this is finished, no, because this is for um, collectible print pipeline. Um, it's not for this particular project is not for game res. So after I get the sculpt finished, depending on if you guys want to see it or not, I may do some poly paint to it just for shits and giggles, for presentation. If you guys are interested in seeing that. And then through the neck area, we'll probably see quite a bit of cross hatching happening through here. We won't be able to see much, but I might as well get it in there. Yeah, I did some prop work early on in my career, but I'm doing all character work now. Um, I label the stream character and prop because there may be some times when we're not doing character. Most of the time it's going to be character though. We want to get some deeper areas through here. See if we can. It doesn't really add much. So you guys are interested in seeing this guy painted? Do some poly paint on him. I haven't done poly paint in a while. I was watching Brett Briley's awesome streams, and he does some super sick poly paint. It's quick, but it's sick. And it adds so much to your work. I'm inspired. I want to do some poly paint. Why can't I do that? Oh wait, I can. Brett Briley's on here. He's on ZBrushLIVE. So if you go to ZBrushLIVE.com, take a look at Brett Briley's page. You can see his replays. Or if you go on to Pixelogic's YouTube page, you can see his replays as well. I think it's like Sparky, something like that. Brett Sparky, something or other. In this case, so the question is, do you send it to somebody else to create your STL? Since this is a personal piece, I'll probably just end up doing that work on my own. I probably won't stream it because I don't really have a lot of professional experience doing that, so it'd be tough to kind of show. It's probably mostly just a lot of decimation. Alright, let's spend the last 20 minutes or so pulling all this area into line here. Alright, so I feel like the second stage is actually pretty good right now. Second stage is just using the dam standard to pull in some of these areas a little bit more. Maybe we'll just grab a couple areas. And I like having this transition in between the two major forms, where like you have this type of thing happening. Bobo the Seal. I have another question. I've seen some game companies that state in their requirements experience in Maya or Max. Does that mean that it wouldn't matter if I use Maya or Max in work? I think the most important thing when it comes to the prerequisites is that you have super sick work. That's the most important thing. Um, Learning a software is less troublesome than it is getting an awesome artist. Um, Speaking from my experience, I was a Moto guy. Am a Moto guy. I've been using Moto for quite a long time. I've used Maya in the past, professionally, but I wouldn't say I was a Maya guy. And I've never even used Max. And my portfolio was good enough to get in, and they use Maya, so I told them, I said, um, yes, I've used Maya, but my main software is Moto. Yeah, usually it's not a problem. So then you just spend a little bit of time learning that particular software, and then you're up and running. It's not. They usually just say it because they want you to know the software that they use. Um, and it's a good idea to know that software. It definitely helps. Could it affect whether you get the job or not? Yeah, it could affect it. Very much could. But if your art is what they're looking for, then they're looking for your art, right? Not necessarily, oh well, he doesn't know Maya, we can't hire him. Now, granted, if it was two candidates that were of similar skill, and that was the main difference, is that you didn't know Maya and they use Maya and the other guy knows Maya, yeah, well, then that's gonna hurt. But it's not usually like oh well, he doesn't know Maya, we can't hire him. They'll usually be pretty good about letting you get up to speed. Blender. Nobody really uses Blender. No big graphics houses really use Blender in house. Um, Game companies at this point. A lot of them are just, if they are, it's their own artists kind of using it. Unless it's a smaller company that doesn't want to pay $50 million for Maya licenses. Could be that too. Alright, let's get in the last little bits here before we call it. We just start using the Inflate Brush to start pulling out some of these areas. Some of the high frequency areas. And by high frequency I mean there's a lot of squash and stretch happening over time. That's why you get kind of this skin buckling out. Yeah, I think that a lot of studios are fairly open to letting you use the software that you're most comfortable with for doing your particular job. But in a lot of cases, a lot of tools have already been written for whatever the company's base software is. So you're going to have to end up using it at some point, I guess depending on your job. But, I use Moto for a lot of my actual character work. And then just export it to Maya when you're done. It's all OBJs and FBXs anyways. And Targas and PSDs. Okay, now we start popping out some of these pieces here. Alright, so we get a lot of this skin buckling happening. And again, I'm thinking about lighting, right? So I'm thinking about most of my light's going to be coming from the top. So as it gets out of the most bright areas and down into the shadow areas, that transition is where you're going to see the most amount of details in your lighting. So I really want to make sure that those areas across the whole piece are getting a lot of attention, a lot of detail attention, you know? Call that know your audience, know your setup. Yeah, it's usually either Maya or Max for the most part. And it's actually more, in my experience, more Maya than Max. It's a good idea to know Maya. And that's why ultimately I say, you know, it's really about your art and your skills. Not entirely based on what software that you know. Software could be taught. Technical stuff is taught a lot easier than abstract stuff, like how do you make good art? You know? Yeah, all this stuff is already pretty good through here. I think we need a little more details in here. It's all about if you can make badass art. That's the awesome and sucky thing about this industry. Is that you gotta have good art. But once you have good art, your art does the work for you, man. It's great. You don't have to go out and make cold calls, and you don't gotta go knocking on doors. If you got dope art and you post it online, most of the time, work will come to you. It's funny, you talk to a lot of people in the industry and you're like, oh, how do you get work? A lot of the really great artists, they're just like, people reach out to me, man. It becomes really tough in the early stages when you're still kind of learning and you haven't got to that point of like notoriety. That's the kind of tough gray area. But you know what to strive for. Look at that. Whoa. So after I do this process, I'll probably go back and do some of this characterized stuff where, you know, you have something more specific happening. Or like character specific stuff happening. And you got some foldies. Some foldies. Right now I don't really have any foldies around here. So I may go back and like add some at some point. Add a little bit more character to it. Yeah, you see some of that integration happening there. Yeah, nice. get some bigger folds happening through here. Again, think about your lighting. You'll get a lot of really bang for your buck down in these areas as the light transitions from highlight to complete shadow. Get a lot of payoff in that area. Then what I'm going to do is I really want to accentuate the bicep vein through here. So I'm just going to pull in some of these areas as they go over. See? Start having a little bit more in there, and then maybe what I'll do is I'll go with my inflate and then deflate some of this in here. Deflate. And just push that in just a little bit. And then pull this out just a little bit. Just to get that form coming up. So what's cool is that you've got all this kind of cross action happening, and then you've got this big line that goes across that really shows. Maybe that's a little much. There we go. That's a little bit better. Good question. So when's my next stream? Let's take a look. My next stream is unscheduled at the moment, actually. I haven't set up next month's schedule. It'll probably be, let's see. Probably be not next Saturday, which is BlizzCon. Maybe the 10th, maybe November 10th, I think is maybe the next one. But I will be doing some of this work on my stream. So if you want to follow mine, my personal channel, it's actually right down there. It's just Brendon Isaiah Bengtson. I would say copy and paste that. Because I want to start getting this guy closer to being done. I'm ready to start wrapping this dude up here pretty soon. So I'm gonna probably start working on him a little bit more on my personal stream, but I'll be doing a lot of the major stuff like this, where I kind of explain how I go about doing the major skin. I'll still probably do some of those on the Pixelogic stream, but I want to start kind of pushing this guy forward towards being done. So if you'd like to follow me on my personal channel, hit me up there. I also have another project that I'm working on there, which is more of the game pipeline for the Horizon Zero Dawn character I've been working on for the last 14 years, it seems like now. Yeah, it's starting to feel pretty cool. Yeah. See, now we just get that little hint of something else happening here. And you're like, oh, I know what that is. Yeah, nice. I know what that is. Alright, now you know. And knowing's half the battle. Remember that from G.I. Joe? Anybody? Anybody? And knowing's half the battle. Now when I'm doing this, I really want to think about what, you know, because he's kind of pulling his shoulder up. So I want to think about what the skin would be like in um, normal stance, and then what it would look like moved. You know what I mean? So I want to stay true to the style that it would be here if it was in um, this position, but then I would take that style and what would it look like if he rosed his arm up? Right, I want to get a lot of this movement going up this way. Oh, Johnny Quest. Alright, so I want that skin stretch happening, which is like a real big part of action when you're getting into poses. Is how how that skin stretch is happening and how it adds to um, what's the movement, you know? Alright, we got this nice whoosh, this action happening. Woo! Like a water slide. Woohoo! Alright. So you guys feel like you can go and do this on your own now? Got this? Got this? Got this, man. Now I gotta come up with a new set of tips and tricks. Because I just showed you guys how to do this. It's alright. It's all about sharing knowledge, man. It's all about sharing knowledge. That's why I like doing these streams. It helps. If awesome artists can spend less time trying to figure out processes of how to do things, um, you know, it can help them get to making super dope art quicker. That's the enjoyment that I get out of this type of work, sharing knowledge. If I can help people make super dope art quicker, I'm all about it, man. I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Lord knows I used up a lot of knowledge from others while I was in my early stages. I can't thank those people enough for sharing what they shared. The least I can do is give back. Should always give back, you know. Yeah, I got our station. It's just Brendon and Isaiah Bengtson, our station. Yeah. So now those secondary forms are really starting to push through. So it's important to make sure that you nail those. I could just work on this the rest of the day. That'd be awesome. What do you guys think? Should I just hang out for another 3 hours? needs to go to work? Who needs to get their kids up? Psh, overrated. Just kidding. Alright. I think that's probably going to do it for me today, ladies and Germans. Boys and gerbils. I think we got some good stuff done. Look at that. You got this really nice flow starting to happen. This movement up in through here. Don't do it. I got my kids up this morning. Huge mistake. Yeah. There you go. That's starting to feel like it's adding to the sculpt, right? Adding to those nice secondary forms that I had going on earlier. And we'll go ahead and continue to punch those out like through here and through here, through here, through here, through here like this, and get some of this nice transition action happening through here. Some of this. Let's do a quick render. See how it looks. Yeah. Let's do it from this side. So you see what I'm talking about, where the natural light source, or the light source will typically come from the top. So this, like where we go from the highlight area, from that fall off all the way down to the most dark, this area is where you're going to get the biggest payoff of that high frequency detail. Look at all this, right? All that. I'm not too worried about the most top portions. I'm worried about just this nice mid-range fall off. Right, and you can see the difference between pulling out some of those little buckled areas on this versus just using an alpha on this side. Makes a huge difference. Alright, and we're going to leave it at that. Thank you guys for coming by. I always have a good time with you guys. I hope you guys had fun. I hope you guys learned a couple things, and most of all, I hope you were inspired to go make your own cool art. So do it. Go make some cool skin. Practice anatomy. Get doper. Alright guys. We'll see you soon. And be sure to follow Pixelogic Twitch channel. There's a lot more amazing artists coming up every single day. Every day I'm ZBrushing. Alright guys. It's been fun. Talk to you soon.